But do you not think so far up ahead? I've been thinking about forever. Welcome back, everybody, to the Generation Varied podcast. This is the show where we talk about business, sports, politics, pop culture, health, all of the things in between. I'm joined here by my two co-hosts, Ben Okenge and Jack Widener, with our excellent executive producer in the background, Sophie St. Furman. Gentlemen, how are we doing this week?
Doing pretty good, man. I like the intro song, a classic. And
Classics.
I don't know if you guys have seen just kind of like the rumors. Frank Ocean might be working on something. So who knows?
Frank Ocean is one of those people that you're just like, he just be moving in silence. You know what I'm saying? He like
100%.
we not about to go back and forth. I'm not about to be on Twitter arguing with nobody. Like when I have music, you'll hear from me, you know?
Yeah, I'll have to send you guys this. Let me find the name of it just for the listeners while we chat. But there's this artist on Spotify that's been leaked that people suspect may be him. And it's like a burner Spotify.
What?
That's
So
crazy.
while I find that, Jack, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I was in Colorado for 2 weeks and I'm back at DC, and it's just nice being my home again and working from the environment I'm more used to and catching up with, people here in town, and coming to DC to all the everything, when it comes to trees, flowers, everything was just blooming. I was just like, my gosh, I'm in the garden in Paris or something like that. It was just, everything was just so colorful, and it's in the 60s, 70s. So going from Colorado, which snowed a few times, it's really dry, it's very barren, to like a city, I'm like, oh my gosh, like life is back,
Right.
So it's just very grateful for those little things, like the trees in our backyards are, sprouting these green, vibrant green colors. So it's just those little things make the days go by, faster, but also in a good way. So, but that's how I'm doing. How you doing, Caleb?
Listen, y'all know me. I'm just as fine as a frog hair split 4 ways. Just out here making it happen. I'm doing good. I'm at like 80% of health. Sometimes I think about like where I'm at in terms of like video game health. You
A
know what I'm
power
saying?
bar.
Yeah, I'm like
What's your Mount Mana at?
I was hovering honestly at like low power bar for like a hot second, but like let me tell you something. That incline, we almost back up to 100.
You
I get one more. I find one more little ammunition package. That's y'all's ass.
you drink
I'm
one more
gonna tell you that
potion.
right now. I drink one more potion. That's somebody's ass.
Using one more
okay?
spell, you charge up. It doesn't go down. I want to ask you too about something. So I saw the Minecraft movie last week. Crazy.
Jack,
And
how much money you spent on that? I need to know.
it was Discount Tuesdays.
Okay. I was about to be like,
Acceptable. Hey,
17...
I'll still have you know he didn't tell you a price. He just
Hey,
said
it was
discount.
like look, that should say how expensive theaters are these days, more than anything else. Tickets should not be
True.
$10, $11 more. It should be half of that. But you get lucky if you find a theater that's like $13.
Yeah, true.
But anyways, I went with
It's the tariffs.
No, the theater's been at it, bro.
Nah, I'm just playing,
That's
bro.
crazy. So, went to the theater with Becca's family, and we had a 3-year-old with us, and it was a surprise. We went to eat. The parents didn't tell their kid that, hey, we're going to watch Minecraft with all the family. So once we started walking to the theater, super excited. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this could be a core memory for this child. And but in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm a little nervous because I don't know, have you seen any videos about Minecraft movie? But there are certain segments or parts of the movie where Jack Black says something like chicken jockey or I am Steve. It triggers an outburst of like kids putting the flash on, throwing popcorn, candy, just trashing the place around. And I've seen this video going before this theater. Luckily, that didn't happen. But I want to ask you, have you guys seen any of the, like, just the chaos that Minecraft movie has brought to the theaters?
I have not. No.
So one of the craziest one is somebody brought a live chicken. They hop onto somebody's shoulder and they lifted a chicken in the air. Everybody's throwing popcorn, flashlight
In the theater?
in a theater. And I saw another one setting out fireworks.
Listen, this may be really bad to say, but that's low key what I expect from the demographic of people watching Minecraft movies.
Yeah.
Listen, I knew when it came out. I said, "See, I can't go see that in theaters because I can't hold my breath for that long."
Kids,
you know that demographic
because it's gonna be.
Don't like wearing no deodorant.
Yo.
You know what I'm saying? You ever been to a Comic-Con or something like that?
Yeah,
Smell
bro.
like feet. Smell funky. Okay, I went to go support somebody that I love very dearly. And here's the thing: I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. I'm not here for any of that. If you subscribe to Comic-Cons and nerd culture, I say absolutely go for it. If you like it, I love that for you, right? I'm not here to disparage that. But you have to know when you in them spaces, it's gonna come with some BO, with some Cheeto feet sent around places. It's gonna come with, you know them folks that smell sour all the time because they leave their clothes in the washer too long. That's what them places smell like. You know what I'm saying? And we just, as long as you know that and go into it with honesty, you're good. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like Beck and I talk about this a few times. Like when a comic or an anime is good, it's only good until somebody ruins it.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I don't want to watch this anymore because everybody, I guess I'm at, stinks, and I'm not. I'm done. Like, y'all taking it too far. But anyways, because of the chaos that has like came with a theater experience, it has driven the ticket sales to becoming like it's beating Mario movie. It's one of the highest gaming gross movie.
It's beating Mario?
Yeah,
wasn't that like one of the highest grossing movies?
Yeah, but when it comes to US and opening weekend, it's like it was like 157 million. I don't think that's beating Mario, but
it's meme culture, bro. It's meme culture. We've talked about it countless times on this podcast, but bro,
that's what I'm trying to get at. It's the meme culture has driven the Minecraft movie. It's not a good movie. I personally didn't enjoy it. I think it's fun for kids because if you play those games, you see those characters, and you have Jack Black singing, it's like they have a formula. Super Mario movie created a formula for how to do movies and for when it comes to gaming. So I think it was fun for kids, but as an adult, I definitely was like dozing off. But anyways, it was hilarious to see some of even the creator of Minecraft is like, hey, I'm just glad that, a lot of moviegoers are creating a unforgettable experience in theaters, while the theater managers are like screaming their head off, like, do not blow the air horn or do not throw the popcorn, or I'm gonna shut the movie off, that kind of stuff. So I feel bad for the theater, but those who had to clean up after the mess that teenage boys have created.
Did any of that happen when you were in there?
No. This, I think, is because it was like a Tuesday dinner time, but like I know that it was happening throughout the whole weekend. Like I met somebody in Colorado, like they went on opening weekend on like the Thursday night, and they experienced that.
Wow. I feel like what's her name? That one meme that's like, not on my watch. Not on my. I wish somebody would cut up like that around me in a theater. I am that person that's in a theater that's like I'm just confrontational. So it's like, if you've got your phone on bright and or you're texting the whole time, I have no problem speaking up and saying, hey, do you mind turning that off? You're disrupting everybody that's trying to, like, I'm 110% that person. Now, I'm not obnoxious, right? I'll say please and thank you, but I'm just very confrontational. It's like life's too short to walk around being quietly annoyed the whole time. It's like,
facts.
Listen, if I'm uncomfortable and not having a good time, you're not about to sit there in peace and quiet. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm not having a good time, yeah, you're not gonna sit here and enjoying yourself.
Yeah, so I recommend to you to watch the movie when it comes out. Actually, it's okay if you guys don't too. Jack White does sing. He does sing a few songs. It was a fun time with family. But anyways, another thing that I want to talk about, since we last connected, is the NBA draft just happened. So it followed immediately after the NCAA women's tournament ended. It was a great tournament. University of Connecticut won the national championship, led by their point guard Paige Beckers. Amazing story. Somebody who has suffered some some severe injuries and came back and led the team to the championship. And WNBA draft took place last week, and with the first overall pick, Paige was selected, and she is going to be going to Dallas Wings. I don't know. I just want to take a pause and just like recognize like how well, first of all, like when it comes to the tournament, the NCAA tournament, how they highlighted like women individual athletes,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Juju Watkins, Paige Beckers, Lauren Betts, just a lot of these. We definitely talked about before. Just like we know more athletes on the women's side, individual athletes, than we do on men's side. And seeing the WNBA draft having another success after last year, which we know was Caitlin Clark's WNBA draft. But anyway, I didn't get to watch it really. I just kind of followed through social media. But have you two heard anything about it really, or?
So I heard one thing about it, and there was a player who was apparently
I heard a
really,
little
really
bit,
good who
but
had
not
some
like a
allegations
ton.
against her, and like,
My bad, Caleb. We're gonna have to cut that part out. You answer. It was choppy on my side. I didn't know you were talking. It was choppy.
no, all good. It lagged real bad. Sorry about that. Okay, so
Just pick
I'm
up
just gonna
from
make
his
a loud
question.
noise.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, the so I had heard a little bit about it where there was a player who was apparently really, really good. I don't even remember her name, but apparently she had some allegations against her, and she thought she was gonna get drafted she was supposed to be like one of the first people drafted to the WNBA, and she didn't get picked at all. And like she was like one of the top
What?
players. I don't know her.
Dang, I
I'll
didn't
have to
hear
find
about
it for you.
that. We'll have to.
I
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't like I'm on like gay TikTok, so like this was all on like lesbian TikTok. They were talking about like some of the women that she had dated had like were had shared that she had sexually assaulted them like throughout the dating process, and she had like denied most of it, but I think the thing that really tripped her up is that her social media presence like really threw it off because of how ugly she was being about it on social media, and she did not get drafted. I'm gonna have to look it up now. I'm gonna have to find it. But she didn't get
Yeah,
drafted at all, and she was supposed to be like a top 10 pick.
That's
wow.
crazy.
I am definitely curious who this player is and what university they played at, because I definitely watched some games, and they're
Sedona
gonna.
Prince from TCU.
Whoa.
Yeah. So she went undrafted despite being like one of the most highly regarded prospects because she had, and it was domestic violence.
From TCU.
Yeah, from TCU. So she was a top 10 pick to go to the WNBA, and she did not get drafted. Nobody picked her.
That's crazy, man.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've heard a little bit about that. Honestly, it's crazy because I feel like I follow women's college basketball now like so much more than men's. And I don't even know when that started. It might have been with this podcast.
With the superstars, man. They're
Superstars.
rising. It's the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it's really entertaining to just to follow these players. Like that
Mhm.
one, I didn't even know who that one athlete was, and then I ended up watching her in like 2 games just because it was like the semifinals and then the finals, and it was on one night when I was doing some work. So I think like the players' stories within like women's basketball is so intriguing right now, and like watching
Mhm.
these teams, like these women that have like dedicated their lives to this sport and have put in like 4 hard years, and then like their senior year, like get the dub. Like that's just good storytelling. That's something we can all get behind, you know? So I'm really enjoying like women's college basketball, honestly, more so than like men's right now.
Yeah. The main 2 people that I want to highlight are number 1, Haley Van Lith, going number 11.
Hey,
And
she went to
is
TCU.
number 11, and she got the number 11 tattoo.
Love it.
She got a tattoo?
She has a tattoo on the wrist that's number 11, and she got drafted
Wow.
number 11. So that was pretty cool. But
That's
also,
a
I love her
faith
game.
right there.
And she just like, she is a dog on the court. She's taken every team that she's played for very far, played for 3 different universities. Phenomenal player. I'm excited to see her WNBA career. And then also, obviously, Paige Beckers. And I'm biased here, but for me, what it mainly comes down to is, yes, she's a phenomenal basketball player, but the adversity that she's faced with her knee injuries, that she had a tibial plateau fracture in 2021 and then an ACL tear in 2022. These are both major injuries with very unpredictable rehab timelines. And that's where I'm biased because, you know, I see these types of injuries frequently and I know how difficult it can be for people to come back. And like these could both easily have been career-ending injuries, and yet there she goes, first pick and on to hopefully a great career.
That is one thing I'll say is I love that we're getting Caleb. We said great stories in college, and now it's just connecting with the WNBA and Unrivaled. So I'm really excited to watch, these athletes compete. I think one thing that has shifted a lot the last few years is women's competition is becoming more and more exciting and way more and more competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely got to catch a game at some point. And one thing I'll say to not Paige Beckers, but to the Dallas Wings, do not repeat your mistake of trading Luka.
Yeah, Dallas is down bad right now. You gotta.
Did you guys see, not to change the subject, but did you guys see that video of Luca crying when they
Oh
played that video to
Yeah,
him?
very
my
tough.
Dog,
goodness.
that was brutal to watch.
Yeah.
That
And
man loved that team.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, that franchise changes life. Like that's
Yeah.
and
and now we just waiting for the biggest middle finger to Dallas. Go win
mm-hmm.
a championship.
Lakers
Or
in
just go
5.
to the finals. Lakers and fives. No, that's awesome. I know. I love that we talk about this. And next thing is May 16th. The WNBA season starts back up, and we'll definitely want to chat more about basketball, women's basketball then.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
For sure.
definitely. Well, switching topics here just a little bit. We want to talk about something a little bit more serious today, and that is about the life and the trial right now of Abrego Garcia. And we want to talk a little bit about due process and this story. Gentlemen, I'm assuming you guys are familiar with Abrego Garcia thus far.
Pretty minimally, honestly, on my end. I really just know that he was deported and kind of that this was apparently pretty evidently a wrongful deportation. And honestly, aside from that, I don't know a lot. So I'm excited to kind of hear a little bit more about it.
No, same. Tragic story and something that shouldn't happen in the first place. It's definitely some of my friends are most of my friends are talking about it because they look at their own situation like that could have been me easily.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, it should be close to everybody's heart because I think this is definitely one of those stories that not only should people scratch their head, but get their heart moving. Like, all right, let's keep things, let's make it right. And so I'm glad we're going to talk about this. I know one of the things that definitely broke my heart is there, I saw on social media just people sharing the photos of Garcia and his his son, and
Yeah.
just like, oh, at the end of the day, it's like family being apart is probably the most traumatic thing that can happen to
Yeah.
any child, especially when it's done to you, and knowing that the situation for what it is. And then we're going to talk about it here in a second, but it's just a pretty tragic story.
Yeah.
And it's still not finished yet, still unresolved.
Yeah. So I'm going to share a little bit of backstory here on how Abrego Garcia was able to get into the United States. And then throughout while I'm like talking through this, like if you guys have questions, like feel free to go through this. But I'm gonna talk through at least up until sort of like what people are alleging, because ultimately we have the Fifth and 14th Amendment, and the Fifth Amendment is really the thing that it was ratified in 1790 to 1791, something like that. And that was really to say that the federal government cannot, uh, uh, you have to have due process, right? The 14th Amendment came in and really solidified it for the states in the late 1800s for another case that basically said states also have to provide due process. It's not just the federal government. So we'll go through that a little bit here. But Abrego Garcia was born in El Salvador in 1995. The Barrio 18 gang, which is a rival to the MS-13 gang, tried to extort his mom's business for money and threatened that if she didn't pay it, that they were going to either kill her eldest son and or force him into a lifetime of being loyal to that gang. Okay. As a result, the family sent him to the United States. After further threats to the family at the age of 16, Abrego had to flee El Salvador permanently, and he illegally entered the United States in 2011. Okay. In 2016, Abrego Garcia met Jennifer Vasquez Sura, a U.S. citizen who would later become his wife. So in March 2019, police arrested Abrego Garcia with 3 other men in the Home Depot parking lot where they were seeking work as day laborers. It's very common if you go to a big city, for people who might not be familiar, it's very common if you go to a larger city for people that might not be documented, or people who might not have, if they don't have their documentation, you're not able to like have a W-2 job. So if they're typically looking for work day in and day out for cash, basically to help provide for their families, right? This is also not a new thing that's happened. This has gone on internationally for thousands of years. Day laborers that show up to different places looking for work. So this is somebody that is looking to provide for themselves and for their family, right? One of the where they were seeking to work as day laborers. So one of the men claimed, again, this is claimed, that Abrego Garcia was a gang member, but it was reported by The Atlantic, according to the court filings. So looking through the court filings, that the man offered no proof, and the police said that they did not believe him that Abrego Garcia was actually in a gang, okay? He was never charged with a crime in connection to that arrest at all, okay? So he was not charged with any crime. Police then handed custody of Abrego over to ICE for deportation proceedings. In those proceedings, the government claimed that he was a member of the MS-13 criminal gang because he was wearing a Chicago's bull hat and a hoodie with rolls of money covering the eyes and ears of the presidents, and alleged that such clothes were indicative of Hispanic gang culture. So this is the evidence that people are presenting as he was in a gang, was that he had a, George Washington, Andrew Jackson, and Benjamin Franklin, those money faces on there.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like a see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil, which is typically more so just like, that's a reach of hearsay, to be honest. But I'm gonna proceed here. The government additionally cited a confidential informant who claimed that Garcia was active with an MS-13 group based in New York, where he has never lived. So the informant said that he was active in a New York gang. He had never lived in New York, not even for any sort of extended period of time. The informant also claimed that he held the rank of, I'm going to probably butcher this pronunciation, but Checo, which within the MS-13, though, within MS-13. So he's basically saying you held this rank called Checo, but this was in the court filing. Checo is not a rank. It is a yet to be initiated recruit. So this is somebody who's not in the gang, that they want to be in the gang. And the person who was informing them wrongfully thought that this was a assigned like leadership position. All it means is that the gang wanted him to be in there. But again, this is all hearsay, because there's no official evidence. ICE relied on information from this informant that was filled out by a local police officer who was suspended 2 weeks later for giving confidential information about a case to a sex worker that he was paying.
Yikes.
Okay,
That's
so
messy.
this police officer's word is this ex-police officer word is not credible, right? Like we now know this. We're stringing together, like, technically that's my opinion. I'm going to try and remove my opinion from this. So let me backtrack. I'm going to redact my opinion and just say that the person who shared this information was found to be not credible, as they had shared case information with somebody that they paid for illegal sex 2 weeks later. So with all of that being stated, I guess after hearing how this sort of happened, before we get into what his official status was, what are your guys' thoughts?
I mean, this is messy. I think it's just what we want to see from a leadership from top down is just thoughtfulness through the whole thing, and it just feels like, yeah, they're just going through. Just, I don't know. It's like, is anybody safe? Are they just arresting anybody now who just looks a little bit different? And I don't know. It's just frustrating that throughout the process that you laid out, which, thank you, by the way, just how things can be misinterpreted and how that affects somebody's lives, as we all know, to Garcia's life. And yeah, it's just really messy, like the whole process.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of hearsay, not a lot of real evidence. And then also the underlying fact that it doesn't really seem like has been mentioned is like, let's say, hypothetically, which it doesn't actually seem like is the case. Let's say hypothetically he was part of a gang. That is not illegal. That is like protected under the First Amendment. It's unless you have performed a crime or committed a crime, like you are allowed to legally, you can affiliate yourself with whatever group you want. And so even just off of that, like there must just be something deeper that I'm missing. And I guess that, like, I guess if this gang is clearly associated with crime and you're not a citizen and you're part of that, but it's like you can see how I'm having to do a lot of stretching, a lot of ifs, ands, like, so it just seems very, very odd, just as a whole setup.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, just to provide some context on MS-13, MS-13 is one of the most notoriously vicious gangs, like, in the world, in terms of, like, I mean, it's like rape, pillage, plunder, and like that's our thing. We're just killing and raping people, basically. And so it's a very, very violent gang. So I haven't included like the full write out of this, but Abrego Garcia actually did help testify against MS-13 gang members and helped us basically keep our streets safer by testifying against them, which put his own personal safety at significant risk.
Wow.
At significant risk. So this is somebody that actually was really fleeing for their own safety, fled to the United States, is trying to work. And here's the thing, I'm not even here to debate the whole immigration policy and that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not even here to open up that can of worms. The can of worms I want to open up is that this man was sent away from this country without his due process. And that should terrify every single American citizen, every single person that is sitting in this country. I'm going to keep going here about what his status was, right? And why this should not have happened. So shortly after he applied for basically asylum, he could not get asylum purely on the fact that it was more than a year after he had applied for it. Okay. So the judge wasn't able to grant it to him because he was outside of the time frame for it. However, he was given the withholding of removal status, which Abrego Garcia was released, therefore, from ICE custody, and they did not appeal. So ICE was not interested in appealing that This was back in, excuse me, this was back in, I believe, 2019. Okay. So on March 12th, 2025, after working at his job as a union apprentice, Abrego Garcia picked up his son from his grandmother's house. His son was 5 years old at the time, has autism and a hearing impaired hearing, and is unable to communicate verbally. Okay, so his son is nonverbal. After leaving the house, ICE officials stopped his car, told him that his immigration status had changed, lied, said that his immigration status had changed, waited until his wife arrived to take custody of their son, and then took Abrego Garcia into custody. Abrego Garcia's wife said that ICE called her after detaining her husband and told her she had 10 minutes to pick up her son before he was turned over to Child Protective Services.
Oh my gosh.
So all of that to say, he was sent down. I'm going to skip through this a little bit here. He was sent down to El Salvador, to a prison that is essentially nobody comes out of that prison. You either stay there until you die, or you die in the prison. It is known internationally for its human rights violations. There are no sheets, pillows, anything like that. It is flat metal beds that are stacked to the ceiling. It resembles that of and I don't say this to be dramatic or to draw inappropriate conclusions, but it resembles that of a concentration camp bunk bed, essentially, with how high they are stacked and with how many people are in the rows. Now, I do not want to draw that conclusion just yet. I don't want to insert my opinion in there, but this is what it appears to be when you look at the photos. I want to fast forward, and basically he was sent down to El Salvador. There's been a lot of back and forth in the legal court system. The Trump administration admitted to making an error and sending him down there. So they admitted to that in the court filing, that they, on paper, admitted to illegally processing him out of the United States. Okay, that is in the court documents. You can go and look at that, right? So we're already acknowledging that we made a grave error. The Supreme Court on April 10th, so this is just a week ago, the Supreme Court released a unanimous unsigned order in reciting the facts of the case. The court said this: the United States acknowledges that Abrego Garcia was subject to a withholding order forbidding his removal to El Salvador, and that removal to El Salvador was therefore illegal. Okay? So after reviewing the case, the Supreme Court ruled that the district court properly requires the government to facilitate his return from custody, which has been stalled out and basically refused and refuted by the existing Trump administration. The government now requests an order from this court filing permitting, so they also appealed, so this happened actually today. The Trump administration attempted to appeal this in the federal courts, and it was unanimously decided that there was no appeal. You have to bring him back. The president and the vice president are pretty much unanimously, as well as the Department of Justice Chair Pam Bondi, are all in agreement that they do not plan on facilitating this man's release. I think the thing that is most alarming to me is the amount of misinformation that is being shared about who this person is. So the president and the vice president have gone on social media platforms and have said that they won this case, which is literally factually, by the court documents that you filed, wrong. And then JD Vance today said on Twitter, he was responding to people saying, so let me get this straight. You want us to facilitate the return of a convicted criminal. We cannot tell a sovereign nation what to do, is what he said. And the reason why that's BS is that they literally got Andrew Tate and his brother, who were in Romania, and I believe it was more than 16 counts of sex trafficking and violent sexual crimes towards women. They got them released from a prison sentence that had, not released from the prison sentence, but they got them basically brought back to the United States to be considered up under house arrest, but there's nobody checking in on that, right? It's outside of their jurisdiction. They don't have anybody verifying that. So basically got them released from prison. Two men that are convicted, or not convicted, no, that have alleged, that are charged and have alleged crimes with significant evidence, from cell phones to laptops to video evidence of them sexually abusing women with with so many witnesses, women that have come forward saying that they lured them at a young age and basically trapped them into a sexual trafficking ring. We were able to intervene on their behalf. But an innocent man who helped us make America safer by testifying at his own risk against a gang, a man with a family, with a wife and kids, who the United States government judiciary branch unanimously agreed was illegally processed and should be back in the United States. Our leaders are defying that order, and I want to commend the senator in Maryland who flew down to El Salvador to try and intervene, who went to go speak with the president and the vice president, and the president and vice president of El Salvador said, "Oh, well, we can't get him removed." So after all of that context, gentlemen, what are our thoughts?
It's a scary time. It's a scary situation because now I know, and I have this interactions. Just like I have people who I know are traveling with documents. Even though they, like Garcia, he can be in the U.S., but that doesn't give as much assurance that should give somebody who came to U.S. Like, it's not having the same feeling of feeling it safe. Just like you don't know. You can go to airport and then yeah. So I think what's just really frustrating is, I don't know, it comes down to principle too. Like the leadership, it's like it's lacking of that. It's like from what you've laid out, the facts is just knowing those who have supported this administration. Like, this is a part where it's a great opportunity to keep somebody accountable.
Yeah.
We keep, that's not just for this administration, this is for every administration ever.
Yeah.
Last one, the one before, you got to keep somebody in check. That's why we have checks and balances. But that's also, and also for people to keep our leaders accountable for their actions. And this is such a great example, a great place to step in and speak up. And which is why we want to bring this story up, is because this is clearly a mistake, and now we don't even know how Garcia is doing. Like,
so many are speculating that he's most likely, the reason why they're not trying to facilitate it is because he's no longer alive.
I've heard some of that too. There's no evidence, like like if that's the case, that's terrible. Just,
you have to think there were men that were in the MS-13 gang that were arrested and that were sent there, right? And if that gang has a hit at, I'm like getting emotional just thinking about it right now. It's just so it's so inhumane. It's so egregious to acknowledge that this person had the legal right to be in this country based on the status that he was given, right? And I'm not here to debate policy, immigration policy with anybody. The immigration policy is what it is as of right now, and that man had protected status. And I fear for the repercussions of what it means. Go ahead, Jack.
When it comes to like the due process, like what you said, like it's not just for citizens. If you are somebody who doesn't have citizenship, you still have due process in this land.
Yeah.
Which I think most people are surprised about. And everybody has right to go through that due process. And this story, the reason it is all over people's, in people's minds, is because how we're interpreting how this administration is basically just, not respecting that the Constitution is alarming. And it's like, what's next, know? And I think that you definitely, like, what is the repercussion of this, especially if Garcia, one, doesn't come back to the U.S., or even worse, he's already not with us.
Yeah, I think a couple of thoughts. First of all, this is one isolated story that happened to get all this attention, and it makes me think and makes me wonder, like, does this kind of thing happen frequently? Like, this this could be a pattern that we just don't even know about, and that to me is like a very scary implication behind this, that it's like, why did this story get big in the first place, you know, by some happenstance? And it's good that it's gotten this kind of attention, right? Because it's turning people's eyes to it and showing a problem. But it's like this, and I'm not saying it has happened, but I'm saying this potentially could have happened so many times in the past, and it's just been overlooked or it hasn't gotten the attention. And to me, that's first of all very terrifying. And especially as someone who like is not a citizen in this country, you know, like I am a permanent resident here, but you know, I could still do something that gets me deported. And so to have that implication that you could get deported without doing something, it's crazy. Actually, I remember one time when I was in my undergrad on a road trip, and I was driving through North Carolina, and I had a police officer pull me over because I was speeding, and he asked for my driver's license, and I showed him my driver's license, which at the time I wasn't a resident of the United States yet. I was just here on a student visa. So I handed him a Canadian driver's license, and he went and took it back to his car and then came back to me, and he was like visibly frustrated, and I think part of that was because he wasn't able to run my driver's license.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is a Canadian license, where's your American license? And I was like, well, I don't need an American license because Canada has a treaty with the United States on this kind of thing. This is valid here. And this police officer looks me dead in the face, and he's like, no, that's not true. Do you have your passport with you and immigration documents? And I'm like, and this is just this is not ICE. This is a highway patrol officer. And he's like asking me for my passport and my visa. And I'm like, no, I don't have that on me. And he's like, well, you need to have that on you. Why isn't that on you? And I'm like, I don't have to have that on me at all. And he said, he basically goes on to spew a bunch of lies and make a bunch of threats. And he's like, I could take you to jail right now and have you deported because you need to have your passport and all this stuff. And I know my rights, but I'm not going to argue with the cop still.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this is a lose-lose situation. And so I just shut up. And I mean, essentially, he was just mad because he couldn't figure out how to write me a ticket, and because he didn't have my address or anything like that. And to me, it was weird because it's like, why are you on this power trip? And that's the point that I'm getting at, is that it's like there are certain people who are in positions of perceived authority, and I say perceived authority.
Yeah.
And they want to use that as an opportunity to flex on you, to intimidate you. And that's like a big part of what happened in this situation, it seems, and just taken all the way to the extreme.
Yeah. There's a lot of, and I don't say this to be, I could get some flack for this, but I don't really care. When it comes to law enforcement in the United States, we don't typically opt for the best and brightest Americans. And I don't say that to like drag law enforcement, but I do say that to say that like most law enforcement people that are police officers and that kind of stuff are typically like they had nothing else really to do. Like it's just not like something that people are like, oh, I want to go and do this. It's more so of like, this is gonna sound really bad, but it's more so of like bottom of the barrel people that are like, yeah, I'm out of options, so I guess I'm just gonna go become a cop. And that's evident in the fact that in every single state in the United States, you have to clock more hours to hold a barber's license or a beautician's license than it takes you to even become a cop. You have to put in more work to cut hair in America than to become a cop. And so what does that give us? That gives us power hungry people that, because typically most people that get into law enforcement, like again, like I said, this is not our best and brightest. That does not mean that law enforcement by and large are all stupid people. I'm not making that correlation. I'm saying that there is a good portion of people within law enforcement that were just out of options, and so they decided to do that. And so what you get is this whole slew of people who are just power hungry, who are by and large typically pretty rather uneducated, that are walking around uneducated even on the law. Like we see videos come out every single day of them trying to convince people, like for example,
like what I just narrated. Like that's the same situation.
so
This dude's
ignorant of
trying
the
to
law.
tell me he can take me to jail for not having my passport on me, and that he can have me deported when I'm in the country legally just for speeding.
Dude, Andrew and
And he
I,
was dead serious. I was like,
dude,
really?
last summer, Andrew and I, we do Columbus Pride every single year together. For the listeners, my best friend in the world, I live with him. His name's Andrew. My best friend and I were driving from Lexington and Columbus, and that's a quick drive, quick 3 hours. It's about Cincinnati. The bridge is like almost exactly the halfway point. We get to the bridge and we get pulled over like right before we get up to the bridge by this cop. He comes up, asks for our license and registration. He goes, "The tags on this car are expired." And I was like, "No, no." I said, "No, no, they're not. They're like updated. Like you can see the tag back there. Like it literally says 2020. Like it's not expired. It's September." He misread the literal tag apparently and thought it was expired. So then he was like, "So where are you gentlemen going?" And I wanted to say, "Why do we have to tell you that? We're in a what do you mean, where are we going?" "We're headed up to Columbus." "Well, what are you headed up to Columbus for?" Had both me and Andrew step out of the car, pulled up an extra cop to question us as to where we were going, asked if we had anything illegal in the car, accused me of not having updated insurance, accused me was just like looking for something. Well,
Yeah.
if we
It could
brought
have all
somebody
been
here,
solved if he just said, "Oh, my bad, I misread it." But
if we brought a dog here, would we find anything in this car? Can we take? No, you can't. It's like we exist in a police state, like genuinely. Like we give unfettered access to police, and it really is egregious, like genuinely.
Wow. Yeah, it's just no, thanks you two for sharing that. I think last thing I'll say, like this whole Garcia story and obviously the power seeking story. I know, going to Colorado, like I had, pick up some of my friends faster because I'm like, hey, look, if you are concerned for one bit and I wasn't going to pick this person up, but if you don't want to wait this long, you let me know. Because this kind of story is, there's different hubs in the US. It's like where ICE is like pretty more active than the other cities. And unfortunately, Denver is one of that because there's a lot of stories around the Venezuela gangs there. So ICE is pretty active and so yeah, it's like, all right, be intentional being there for our friends who aren't, US citizen, but are here legally or in process of becoming one. And just, I feel hearing this kind of stories, just reach out to them, just checking how they're doing because it is a heavy story because it could be one of your friends, it could be one of your families.
yeah, no, it's definitely very, very heavy stuff. Transitioning into something a little bit different, I want to ask you guys this question. Would you ever take advice from someone who kind of maybe clowns you or insults you along in the process? Think like backhanded compliment or backhanded advice.
Absolutely,
You're cool with that
for
a little
sure.
bit?
I think it depends who is from, but I definitely have taken back in the comments, and I see myself doing more out of that. Like
Mm-hmm.
more positive thing came out of that, but it's out of spite. It's like, oh
Okay,
yeah, is that what you think? All right, I'm gonna go even harder now, like on that thing,
I see.
just to prove a point. But then that comes in my heart, like I feel like I'm
Mm-hmm.
compromising like my soul, like and you two know me, like I'm somebody who wants harmony with everyone, but that's
Yeah.
not possible with everybody.
Jack, I
So
can do all things through spite that motivates me. That strengthens me.
That's terrible.
Caleb Lations 313.
Well, the reason why I bring up that question is because I want to bring something to the table that's been just blowing up on my Instagram feed for probably the past month, and maybe yours too. I know that Caleb's seen this. Him and I have sent some of these videos back and forth. We're talking about Toni Fine Fitness. If you haven't seen her, she's this super blunt and she's low-key hilarious fitness coach who goes live on Instagram and gives her advice to people while also roasting them in the process. So we're going to play one of her clips real quick. Caleb's going to pull that up, and then I kind of want to hear what you guys think.
Okay.
Oh, can you turn a little bit?
Yeah.
No, so can hear it.
Yeah, I got no sound.
You guys don't have sound?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Ooh, give me 1 second.
I know we got it with sound before.
I know, yeah, that's why I'm confused. I'm just gonna make a mark so that I know to come back to this portion.
Okay.
This doesn't. You guys can't hear the sound?
No. Do you hear it?
I do, yeah.
Weird.
Can you turn it on your computer? I
Say
feel
what?
like that. I feel like that doesn't matter though.
Hey, this is about to be ghetto. What if I just played it out my phone at the same
do that.
time?
Yeah.
All right. Let me pull it up. So go all the way back to the beginning of it, Caleb, and we'll hit play kind of around the same time.
The caption.
Yeah, you like it? Spicy deluxe and the cookie? Yeah, you like it? Yeah, I can.
Okay, let's start it over at the same time.
Hold on. It fucked up.
Spicy deluxe and the cookie? Yeah, you like it? Yeah, I can tell.
Started in
All right.
3,
Tell me when.
1.
Spicy.
Now it's not lined up. Let's just do the audio.
Yeah.
Like it? Spicy deluxe.
Okay. Here we go. You can mark this point again.
Cool.
Spicy deluxe and the cookie? Yeah, you like it? Yeah, I can tell. How can I tell that you like spicy deluxe with cookies? Because your back is big. I know that. I know that. Your back told me that you love spicy deluxe with the cookies. Calorie deficit? No. Calorie maintenance. Cheat days? No. You've had a cheat life. Don't ask about it again. What should you do for your thick thighs? Walk your thick thighs to the kitchen and go eat less. Popcorn? No. Can I eat McDonald's? If you like being the same size as your mother, Morgan Alexis, good morning here. How do you get rid of stubborn back fat? Your back fat is not stubborn. You are. You're the one who's going to skip breakfast. I had Don Julio 2 o'clock this morning. You're acting a Julio. Starting the plan, got it. What's wrong with Chick-fil-A? It gave you a big back. What's right with it? The lip combo is 12 spicy deluxe.
All right, guys. That is just a quick look into Toni Fine Fitness, and I want to hear what your thoughts are.
When Toni Fine said, "Whatever is making your back big, throw it out." If calling yo mama is keeping your back big, throw her out.
She said, anything that you do and your back is still big, stop doing it.
Hold on. Let's take a step back. Can we define what big back is real quick for those who don't know? I feel like at this point people should know what it is.
A big back is basically saying it's like somebody who's like overweight. Basically, it's like when your back collects like back fat. Basically,
Yeah, you got some thickness, some width. So, what do we think, guys? Is this helpful? Is it hilarious? Is it out of line? Like, where do we draw this line between brutal honesty and just being straight up disrespectful?
I think when I watched, or hearing the video, and I know we have shared it in past, it's like I'm watching and laughing with everybody, but then later I'm like, I should have walked to my kitchen a little bit more. I should throw out. I should not order McDonald's. It's just like more of like, okay, let me think. Let's be more real about it. Let's just be street, because sometimes it's like that tough love. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like more at the end of the day, we can all use a little bit more tough love. And sometimes when it comes to our body image, that is an area that's really the hard to give tough love in. Because what we're not doing is we're not creating a like a beauty standard, because that's different for everybody. So like,
Mhm.
I think sometimes that can be hard to communicate, but the way she does it is perfect. I think just
Yeah.
like, come on, like it's not that deep. Just do it.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
do this and do that. I definitely want to hear more because for a second I thought she said like you have Severance with your back, like because I just finished Severance the show and I'm like
I'm
that's
sure she said some stuff like
yeah,
that.
just like she finds these creative ways to loop in like a cultural reference and just like yeah, you gotta stop
Yeah.
just doing this. I don't know. I love it.
When she said cheat meal, no, you've had a cheat life. When she said that, I
Hurts.
said,
I'm like, you're right.
getting me together. She said, you've had a cheat life. That's crazy. I personally I feel like I respond really well to that, but I like brutal honesty. Honestly, like I'm for radical candor just in general. So I like it. It also reminds me of like the coaches like growing up. Like I played
Yeah.
football for 12 years and it's like, pal, I had a coach call me every name in the book.
Yeah.
And I knew that man like cared about me still. It's like,
Mhm.
you Norris, you sorry son of a, I swear to God, if you don't get your out here. I mean,
That's a perfect example, actually.
eat you up in front of everybody, but you know that they care, right?
Yeah.
And Ben, I told you before starting this episode that I had a surprise for you.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
And that surprise is that at 5:52 today,
No way.
my gosh.
What
my
are the
own
odds?
personal copy of Fine Fit Fitness showed up. And we didn't, for
I
our
love it.
listeners,
Yeah, we didn't
did
talk
not
about this.
plan this at all. Okay. I have
Wow.
just loved this woman's TikTok so much. And I respond so well to that rip off the band-aid, like coaching honesty that like I was just like we've got 6 weeks to summer.
Hey.
I'll start on this
I
2
love
weeks.
it.
She said we're gonna start with the detox, but here's what I love about it. The detox isn't like any detox I've ever seen before. It's not like a green juice detox, which like I've done them before, and it's like all you do is like I feel like poop yourself. This detox is like 4 ounces of fish with like 6 ounces of spinach with like specifically take like this enzyme. It's like a food-based like detox where you're still eating like 3 meals a day. You're just eating smaller portions and like really clean food. And like I don't know. Her style really resonates with me, and I saw some other people ranting and raving about it, and I was like, you know what? It's $40. I'm gonna
Hey,
get it.
I love it. Actually, that's perfect. Let me give the listeners some background on this and also just peek behind the curtain. We really did not plan this. We had something else
That is
planned
so
for this
crazy.
episode, and I just threw this in here last minute and said, "Guys, roll with me here." So that's hilarious. But yes, Toni Fine, she's an online fitness coach. She actually underwent an incredible transformation of her own, which inspires others and led her to running her own brand called Toni Fine Fitness, where she offers programs focused on sustainable fat loss, strength training, and what she calls no BS nutrition. But what really made her go viral is what we just saw, these Instagram lives. She goes live and answers viewer questions, but instead of giving cookie cutter tips, she'll hit you with, stuff you just heard. Like, you're not big boned, you're just eating 3,000 calories and calling it a snack. Or what's the best thing to get from Chick-fil-A? Water. And like, I think what it is about it that has made her catch on so much is not only the brutal honesty, not only the fact that a lot of what she says is true, or pretty much all of what she says is true, but it's also the fact that she is so quick and witty with it. Like, these are not clipped.
So funny.
That video is not like chopped up responses of her. If you go on her live, she is non-stop, relentless. answering question after question after question with that same energy, and it's almost infectious. So real quick, kind of putting two questions into one here. If we kind of touched on it a little bit, but if you had a coach or trainer talk to you like that, do you think it would make you listen more or just block them, like ignore it all out? And then also along with that, do you feel like we've gone too soft with like how we talk about health in relation to maybe other areas where you might get advice?
One, I think I would respond well to it. I feel like it's at the end of the day, Caleb and Ben, you know, you both have coaches who pushes you really hard and calls you all the type of names. But at the end of the day, you know they care for you because they know where they're trying to get you to.
Yeah.
You know, but if it's somebody you don't know and they're telling you when it comes to your work, if somebody talks to me about work and I'm like, they don't know my goals, I'm like, I'm trying to be cultural, but at the same time, like, I don't know how this is helping me. But I feel like if you have a trainer like this, it should be received well, unless you guys have a unique relationship. But I think I'll respond well, and I definitely think it has become a little bit soft. Ben, to your question, I think there is something of truth about, you know, people have done things before. Kind of like if somebody has run a 4-minute mile, it has been broken. People can do it, you know. So I think that's what she's trying to get us. Like, you can get water at Chick-fil-A. That's doable. It's not like outrageous. It sounds outrageous, but it's doable.
Yeah.
So I think that's the part where I think the soft part can maybe be turned up a little bit. It needs to be more tough. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think for me, like my perspective on it is this, is that like I think so this goes back to like the concept of like insulting, like the art of insulting like your friends like subtly, right? And in at least in like the gay community, we call it like reading and shade and that kind of stuff. And really, if you think about it, like subtle digs and insults, at least for the queer community, served a purpose of basically like the world is going to be hard and cruel to you your entire life. You need to toughen up, and if there's somebody that's going to help toughen you up, it's going to be your own kind and your own people that are here to like, so like as an act of love, reading in shade is really like like a love language when it comes down to it. And it's a way to be honest with somebody using comedy, usually to share an honesty with people. There was an article that I was reading like a month ago. My best friend actually sent it to me about how friendships where like you can make subtle digs and like joke at each other and you can read each other and like insult each other back and forth. Those friendships are like 30 times closer than like a friendship. And I don't know how they calculated that. I don't know.
That's
But
besides the point. Yeah.
they were saying that those are deeper friendships because what you're actually able to do is tell maybe subtle truths about that person instead of awkwardly sitting down and being like, hey, Caleb, we think you need to lose weight. If we're in a kitchen and Ben's like, Caleb, you going back for another Coke? Really? It's like, it's different where it's like, you're still sending me that message, but because I know that we're on the same team, number one, it's acceptable to be able to joke like that because we're on the same team. It's different if we're not on the same team for something. So if you're not inner circle or we're not like, we don't have a commonality of any sort, then it just is insulting. Right.
Yeah.
But I think it's that commonality that makes it actually very loving to be sometimes harsh and like read people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think, you know, something else about it too is that like I think she's partially doing this for the shock value, right? She's partially doing this because it's blowing her up, right? This is like going super viral. It's her whole persona. But there's something behind it that's so much deeper, that's like she is not like scamming anyone.
Yeah.
She's not selling some kind of a crazy gimmick. Everything she says is so simple.
Yeah.
Of it's like, Well, but basically, I think like if I had to sum up the core things that she kind of preaches is like you have reached a place where you are dissatisfied with yourself. You can make changes that will correct that.
Yeah.
And they are simple changes. Move more, eat less. Like it's basically the whole premise of what she's saying. And she, coats that with all this other stuff, right? The abrasiveness and all this, the jokes and all of that kind of makes it a little more digestible than just being told like, hey, have you considered that like maybe you don't feel good because you haven't been treating yourself super well? And I just think there's something really brilliant about that.
I think that's probably why people keep coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Caleb, in terms of that friendship thing, not everybody has that. I hope everybody has that. Just that subtle like nudge, but like come on, yeah, but she does it's such a tough way.
Mm-hmm.
I love
It's just
it.
it's so funny, and again, like the fact that she's doing it live and so quick with it, you gotta appreciate it,
Yeah.
and then you're seeing how people are responding to it in a fun way. You could be one of those people like, actually, this is terrible. I don't like the way you communicate, but you see that everyone's like, nah, I need this.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people definitely are triggered for sure. And that also makes sense because, I mean, to answer kind of that question from my perspective of have we gone too soft with how we talk about health? My answer would be yes and no. Like, yes, because I think that people have this thing that is built by our culture that is like a deep shame about being unhealthy.
Mhm.
And people just have an inability to recognize what is unhealthy, and like they see it as like a judgment of their character instead of like just something that has happened over the course of time and it's
Right.
correctable. Do you know what I mean? And so I think that like if instead of framing it as like you're a bad person because you're unhealthy, you frame it more as like, no, you just are unhealthy because you have these bad habits, but you can change those habits. Like, I think we in that sense, we have gone soft because we're just attaching this emotional value to it that shouldn't exist. And but on the other side, it's like we also maybe haven't gone too soft about it because, for that emotional value, even though it doesn't need to be there, it is very real for people,
Yeah.
and like it can be all consuming for a lot of people. And so I think she like navigates this tricky water where it's like we want to be like confront these problems, right? But it's like, is if that is the wake up call that people need, is like this kind of thing, then I think it's positive. So yeah, it's very complex. I think that's part of why I keep coming back to watching it, is because I'm like, what is it about this that is so captivating?
I think what's captivating about it is that it really, while it's punchy, catchy, and like sort of like abrasive, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like Jillian Michaels in The Biggest Loser.
Mm.
There's a difference, right?
Yes.
And for people that don't know, for context, Jack, do you know what this is? What The Biggest Loser is?
I
So
know the
Jillian
bigger.
Michaels.
I heard of The Biggest Loser.
Jillian Michaels was a huge like fitness influencer, early 2000s, had all of these like workout videos. She put a show on one of the major networks where they basically just like found people that were obese and overweight and basically ridiculed them, made fun of them, called them
Starved
pigs,
them,
like starved them, like did like
overworked them.
it is not like worked them to places of exhaustion, trying to get them to lose like crazy amounts of weight in like a really short period of time for a show, right? So egregious. When I watch Tony Fine, it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't,
No.
it's abrasive, but it doesn't feel, it feels like I want to help you. So I'm going to tell you this truth, but it doesn't feel like it's from a malicious place. And that's why I think people are so drawn to it, is because yes, she's abrasive, and yes, like some of the things you could say like, that's off color, like throw your mom out if she's keeping your bag big. But it's not, it's said with hyperbole, and it's said within a comedic punchline that I think delivers the message that she cares and she's not here to bully or make fun of someone, like, really.
Yes, definitely that. And also the fact that a lot of times what kind of the sarcasm behind what she says has to do with the fact that people already know the answer to what they're asking.
Yeah.
Like, what else is she gonna say?
Right.
People will literally, they know what she's talking about. They know she preaches having a balanced, healthy diet and lifestyle and strength training and all these things. And yet they're still going to ask her, what should my order be when I go to Chick-fil-A? She's like, order water. And it's like, you already knew. If you were asking that question, you knew the answer. You knew what was coming. You know, it's like kind of the wake up to you of like, you know the answer. Just think about it.
Yeah.
Hey, you already know what I'm going to be doing after this.
Scrolling through it.
As I drift away in my sleep.
Here's the thing. I actually really like this. Like, I'll just show our listeners. This is not an ad for Toni Fine, by the way. We don't know her.
Hey, we want her to come on.
But
here,
if you want, we want you on here.
I genuinely think we should try and reach out to her. Absolutely.
Yo.
I like this a lot. From like, I haven't done a deep dive into it yet. I've had it like a couple of hours. But I liked that I had never seen a detox, like, because I feel like I need to do a detox, if we're being honest, just because of my lifestyle. And I work a lot, and I eat at restaurants, I feel like, a good bit. And like, I just think I need a detox. I had never seen a detox before, genuinely, that talked about detoxing with just whole foods and not just like cutting all food out and just drinking like the juice of like fruits and veggies. So like, this is huge for me. Like, there's a lot of educational resources in this. So I'm really excited that I got my copy.
Hey.
I love that. So, okay, final verdict. I feel like I know the answer already, but just to be redundant, are we rocking with Toni Fine? Are we canceling her, or are we just watching for the entertainment?
We rocking with her.
All right.
With Toni Fine.
Okay.
Got a whole program. 6 weeks. Let's get it.
Listen, I'm trying to be on the beach this summer, all oily. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to feel good about myself. I'm trying to, so I want to walk into a room and I want everybody's head to turn and look at me and me think to myself, damn, I really look good, don't I? That's what I want. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to lose this
listeners, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
What if I did before and after pictures? Oh my gosh, we have to have her on the podcast. We have to.
Toni Fine, we want you on the podcast. And as always, thank you, listeners, for joining us today. We hope this episode brightened your day. We love doing this and we love interacting with you all. So don't hesitate to hit us up on social media at Generation Varied. If there's any topics you want to hear us talk about or something that you maybe even want us to revisit, shoot us a DM. Or you can also email us at generationvaried@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate us 5 stars wherever you're listening to this and share the episode with a friend. Thank you. We could not do this without you, and we will be back next week.